Hello everyone! Today I'm on the back deck for the September garden tour of this space. So the last video was all about the front deck. I will link that down below in case you missed it, but this is my other rooftop deck. So it is still on the same level as my front deck garden, but this one faces east. So it gets full morning sun, which some of these plants definitely prefer than the full afternoon sun. And it is technically the same size as the front deck, about 18 by 19 square feet, but we have the air conditioning units up here. So in terms of actual usable space for plants, it's a little bit smaller. Now, this is what I consider my more formal garden. Not that anything I really do is very formal in the garden, but what I mean by that is it's all flowers. I don't think there's any edibles looking around, although I mean some flowers you can eat, like the gumfrina, but I don't grow any fruit or veg out here. It's more of like just my relaxed garden, and I did try my best to stick to a color scheme of pink, purple, whites, and orange tones. However, as some plants have been dying, I have just kind of thrown whatever plants I could either find at the garden center or had available around in other pots into some empty spaces. I also have lost a few plants that I'll point out, and there are some plants that are still alive but don't look that great. So I will show you everything that's doing well, everything that's not doing well on my back deck garden. We'll do a garden sweep first, just to kind of orient you in the space. But so I'm standing where I come out every morning. I absolutely love the view of that church. I think it's so pretty. All of these trees start to change color, and it always just looks really beautiful out here, except for, you know, the like 6 months of winter that we have. And then this is facing the other direction. So these were the doors I was just standing in front of. And right in front of these doors and the windows are my compact hydrangeas. I love these so much. Hydrangeas were always one of my favorite flowers, but I didn't know if I was going to be able to grow that in containers. I now understand you can grow almost anything you want in containers. So I am in love with these. Also, you can see them through the window, which makes it so nice. The reason these are here, not only so I can see them through the window, but this is where the morning light hits first, and then they are in the shade a little bit after noon. And these are the ones that every time I try to grow a hydrangea on the front deck, which gets the west facing full sun, it fried to a crisp. Kind of like that one that I'll talk about in just a second, but for the most part, they have really thrived back here. I will again go into overwintering all of these. I think most of them are going to go down to the garage. Some of them might stay out here, but I'll go into details on that when we get there. But now let's talk about the varieties, because all of these over by the door are different except for two of them. First up on the left, I have a group of 4 here. They are all in, I think the pots are 12 inches in diameter, if not a little bit smaller. And the largest any of these get, I think, is about 3.5 feet. So some of them are like 1.5 to 3.5. So they should hopefully be able to stay in these pots for most of their life, maybe upsize just a little bit. But up front here, I have the Firelight Tidbit. I've had 1 flower so far, and then there are a bunch of other flowers forming. Most of these plants too are also just a year old. I think some of them are a couple years, but most of them are just a year old right now. This one, which is covered in flowers that are already starting to get that fall color, is Wee Bit Innocent. I'm pretty sure this is one of the smallest varieties that I have in the garden. Behind it with that giant pink bloom is the Let's Dance Ariba. This is one that I have a second one of on the other side of the door. Love it, stunning. The blooms are, I mean, huge, especially for a compact variety. Let me actually put my hand there so you can kind of see the size of that. So anything that's pink, I could acidify the soil and make it blue, which is easier to do in a container than not, but I don't really like doing a bunch of extra work, and I like pink better than blue. So all of mine, I'm keeping that pink color. Then I have Tough Stuff Top Fun. This one is, I believe it's a mountain hybrid hydrangea. So the blooms here are a little bit more open. None of them are actually in full bloom right now, but they have been in the past. I'm pretty sure almost all of these are also reblooming hydrangeas, so will continue to bloom throughout the season. In the back there is the other Let's Dance Ariba hydrangea, and in front of it we have Let's Dance Big Band, that other pink blooming hydrangea. This one is Let's Dance Can Do. I haven't had the flowers open yet, so I was really excited because sometimes in the first year hydrangeas won't flower. So I was excited when I started to see the buds forming, but I see hints of pink and it should be opening soon. This one back here I have had for I think 2 years now. I think I got it last year, and it's the Tough Stuff Aha. So I think you can tell it did already bloom. There are some more buds forming now after I've deadheaded it, but I think you can tell it's larger than the other ones, so it's definitely a little bit further along, being in its second year. And then this one in front, I just want to share some interesting information that I've picked up on it. So this is the Let's Dance Skyview. I love the bloom colors. It was covered in blooms just a little bit ago. It's a little bit of a lighter, more bluey pink compared to like the other hydrangeas that I have. However, this one has had chlorosis the entire time I've had it, and I've given it so much iron. I mean, I'm following the instructions. I'm trying not to overdo it, but I was also talking to Matthew of the Southerners Northern Garden on YouTube and Instagram. He is having the exact same problem with this exact same variety. So, I mean, that's 2 of us out of the people I know that are growing it. So I don't know if it's an issue with the variety. I thought it was just me, but he has his planted in the ground, I'm pretty sure. So just know that the Let's Dance Skyview, for me and Matthew, has shown some issues with chlorosis. And chlorosis that doesn't really go away. Most of my other plants, when I have this issue, I can do maybe 2 or 3 rounds of iron and it fixes it, but this just hasn't really gotten much better. Let's look at these 2 hydrangeas, which are also compact and not looking crispy like the one on the right, but these are both the tiny quickfires that I got from the Grand Garden Show in 2022. So they've been with me every year since. I overwintered them in the garage. They started very tiny, like in a 4-inch pot, and they're pretty close right now, I think, to their full size. Then the only non-compact variety is the one that's looking terrible right now. This is Pinky Winky Prime. It's supposed to be, I think, 6 by 6 feet. It has handled the heat and the sun up here because it's been hotter than normal. We've had a lot more intense heat than I think we've had in the past. This one is just not handling it very well. I mean, some of these other varieties did crisp up a bit when it got hot earlier, but as they matured, it didn't seem to impact them as much. But this one is just really struggling. And it's not getting any like different watering schedules than the other ones. It's pretty much in the same place. I did do a scratch test and it is still alive, so I think I'm just gonna let it go dormant over winter. And then this was one that I was planning to move to the garage deck because it is a 6 by 6 hydrangea. I was hoping to get a larger container, put it down there permanently, but we'll see. If it comes back next year, it'll be worth it. If not, obviously I won't. Also, there are some mushrooms growing in the container. So if you see mushrooms in your pot, it can mean a couple things. Either that there's just a lot of great organic material, or you could be overwatering. I think this one, just because again it's outside and it's not like we've had a lot of rain, I don't think it's from overwatering, but just know that that could be an issue if you see mushrooms popping up. Coming over from the hydrangeas then around to the left, this is just a little border I put together. Some of it was planned, some of it was kind of at random, but I do have 3 wooden flower boxes that I got for free from someone who was giving them away that has the angelonia in it that I love so much. And then I have some perennials in pots in the front. I think most of these will go to the garage deck next year, again, assuming that they survive the winter. Now, unfortunately, none of them are actually blooming right now, but I do have the tags so I can show you what they will look like when they have been blooming. The first one here is Illuminati Sparks. Oh, also, all of these are compact as well. So again, not really much larger than about 3 feet at maturity. So this is the Illuminati Sparks Mock Orange. And it did have more variegation on the leaves, I feel like earlier on, and now it has less. I don't know why. It still is in full sun, but this is what it looks like when it flowers. So it has really beautiful white flowers on it. Okay, look, I know you were there for the front garden tour, but you're gonna interrupt the back garden tour as well. Where are you going? Do you want to show them the plants? Next is the Scentlandia Sweet Spire. Again, it will have white flowers on it. Oh, okay. I am trying to film here. Do you know what that is? Do you know what that is? So like I was saying, also has white flowers. This is a really fun shaped plant. I really like it. And for the garage deck, because the pergola is going to be black, I think things with white flowers will really pop. So that's my plan for this one. And then I have a hibiscus, which I usually am not a fan of hibiscus in my garden because I feel like they look too tropical, but I'm falling in love with like the Rose of Sharon with smaller flowers, the ones that don't kind of have as much of a tropical feel. So this is Cookies and Cream with a really pretty dark leaf and white flowers, which are just starting to open. I've had them opening on and off over the last few weeks, but really, really stunning. And then the last perennial I have here is my Weigela, and this is the Bubbly Wine Weigela. Again, variegated leaves with yellow and green. It will have pink flowers, so this one might actually stay up here because I have a lot of pink up here, but this one is like extra compact. It's 1.5 feet tall and wide at maturity, so absolutely in love with this. Might be able to stay in that size pot. Then I have a pot of more of the Coconut Appeal Black-Eyed Susan vine, which I have on the front deck. So in love with these. I just think these are so sweet. I want to have them up here again next year. I think I want to get even more, specifically of the Coconut Appeal with the white flowers for the garage deck too. There are 2 plants in this pot. I probably could have gotten away with one. I think the pot's about 12 inches in diameter. It's also on a shorter cage, but I kind of love how it ended up looking like a shrub more than like a climbing plant. I don't know, I think that's really pretty. It is also on a wheeled caddy so that I can push it around the deck. Now let's talk about the flower boxes behind those pots. This is what's made me fall in love with Angelonia. I think there are 2, I'm pretty sure there are 2 in each of these flower boxes, and they are just so fun. I love the shape of them. I'm 100% adding more next year, definitely growing this variety. So this is the Angel Face Cascade Pink. It's more of like a bluey pink tone than some of the other ones, but it has been just this full of flowers, this full of color. I use it in giveaway bouquets as well. It's stunning. I love it so much. And then on each side, I put in a begonia. And these I don't think I mentioned these in my What I Will and Won't Grow Again video, but definitely growing these because they are so pretty. So in this one here, this is the Double Delight Blush Rose Begonia. It's again more of like a bluer pink, bluer green leaves. So pretty, so stunning. Didn't love, again, the super high heat, but ever since it's cooled down a bit, they have been living their best life. And this box also had the exact same. Then this one over here, let's see if I can find the Selenia Apricot Begonia or if it is covered right now by the Angelonia. There is a flower. I do have more elsewhere in the garden that you can see a little bit better, but I do think I could have this one looks better, but I think I could have just done Angelonia, and that would have looked really cool in these. So I might do that next year and save my begonias for other places. Now we will head over to the back border. So there are, in the corners are evergreens, and these are the Emerald Green Arborvitae Smargards. There's one there in its own pot, which I think is a little bit larger than 12 inches by 12 inches. And then there's one on the other side. I got them this spring, so it'll be my first attempt to overwinter them. They are zone 3, so they should be okay up here in a container, but we'll cross our fingers. Then what you can't see are 3, you can kind of see it over there on the right, 3 lower raised beds. I think they're about 17 inches off of the ground. And then in between the 3 raised beds, there is a grow bag with a dahlia in it. So that is what's making up the back of the border. And then in front, I just put a lot of pots filled with flowers. Now how I originally planted this was basically a mirror image from the center of the middle bed to the left and then to the right. But as things have died, I've replaced things. It's kind of become a mishmash, but I still love it. So let's start over here on the left, where we have my Cosmos. Now I got kind of lazy and stopped deadheading for a bit, so I just deadheaded. I feel like they're starting to flush back, but that is the Cupcake Blush Cosmos. We have the Floret Celosia. Again, I think this one was Autumn Blaze. I have gotten so many great recommendations for Celosia that I think I will like better in terms of just the color, but this plant, my first time growing Celosia of this size, I've had like smaller ones in fall pots, but it's just done so well. The bees love it, the birds love it. It's had no disease issues. So I feel like I can't not have it in the garden next year, but just a different variety. But I do love how that has done. And then in the corner of every bed, I do have a Gomphrena plant, which I loved Gomphrena kind of as a little corner accent much more than I thought. Last year I had Supertunia, which almost trailed too much because they got lost behind the pots in front of them, so you couldn't really see them anyway, where these have kind of stayed almost more horizontal, like coming off of the bed, so I've really liked that. This one I have the QAS Rose Gomphrena in each of those corners. And then, let me see if I have anything else still in here. I think there's another Gomphrena back there that I can kind of see poking through the back. I did pull a China Aster. I guess that's everything that's in there right now, but it still looks pretty full, so I'm not going to add anything else to it. In front of it then, so everything like this here is its own pot, this here is its own pot, but again, it kind of just looks like one mass of flowers, which I love. So I do have some begonias, some sun patience. There actually is a peony in there somewhere that I'm hoping I can overwinter just fine. These begonias were just labeled begonia, so I have no idea what they are. These are the purple candy sun patience, so 100% growing those again next year because they've just done so well. This is 2 plants, and then that is 1 plant. Next, which I feel like they were in their prime, and then they kind of go in and out of like full of bloom and then like kind of blooming like this. We just missed their prime, but these are 2 separate pots where I have one of the Super Bina Pink Cashmeres. I love them. Grew them last year for the first time. This is also something I'm going to have in the garden every year. And then I also put a Supertunia. So in this pot was a Supertunia Vista Bubblegum. This was Supertunia Vista Fuchsia. So there's 1 plant of each in 2 separate pots, but again, you can't really see the pots. Then we have this Dahlia, which is not opened right now, but this is Penhill Watermelon. So it was one of my correctly labeled Dahlias. There's 1 flower kind of starting to open up there. Give you an idea of the color. It is kind of like a pinky orange. It's really pretty. This is a dinner plate Dahlia in a 7-gallon grow bag. Now in front of the center raised bed, we have similar plantings. This again is the Super Bina and the Supertunia Fuchsia. I have the Bubblegum and Super Bina back there. This is the same planting, but I'm realizing that, oh, that one looks really good. This is the Pink Lemonade Super Bells. Now I'm like, because this was on my maybe list or not gonna grow again list, but that looks really nice there. So now I might have to grow it again. But basically it's the same combination of plants over there that was on the left side. All right, now let's take a look at what is in the center raised bed. There's a pigeon behind me on the ground. Hello. Look, if you're not going to actually help with the tour, I'm at least going to have to ask that you keep it down a little bit. Is that possible? All right, back to what is in the center raised bed. This is where I have lost the most. So basically what happened, well, I don't 100% know what happened, but some sort of disease issue, I'm assuming, wiped out my China Asters back here. It was like one kind of fell after the other. It started turning brown from the bottom, which, I mean, sometimes that can be normal with leaves dying that are lower on the plant, but this like started to turn brown and then very quickly the whole plant turned brown and died. So I pulled them all. Now I am planning to grow even more China Asters next year, but now I'm nervous if I had that same issue happen again. So I'm still gonna grow them. We'll see what happens, but I'll just have to have more plants as backup. So yeah, I don't know exactly what it was. There was a little bit of scale, but like maybe 3 total that I saw. So that wouldn't have been enough to actually kill the plants. And some of them didn't have any scale at all and still died. So I don't know what that was. If you've had issues with that, let me know what it might be. But basically, that was what was making up a lot of this bed. And so when they died, it just felt really empty. So I threw in some random plants from either other pots that I had or went to the garden center and got some because I just couldn't bear to look at an empty space for a couple more months. So let me show you what is currently in the bed now, but it's kind of a mishmash. On the corners here, we have the lavender lady gomphrena, one on the left, one on the right. And to again kind of show you the color difference between the lavender and the rose. Don't know if you can really tell, but these are lavender and then these are rose. It's a little bit easier to see in real life, but they are also very, very close in color. Just one's slightly more purple and one is slightly more pink. Now I also have some of the Selenia apricot begonias that I moved from another pot, so you can see a little bit more of those flowers in there. I have status that I need to harvest. I have some that's more purple, some that's a little bit more blue. These I all got from Johnny's Seed. Oh, and I want to mention, well, I guess other than the plants I just got from the garden center, most of what is in the raised beds I started from seed. Most of what is in the pots in front of the raised beds I planted as plants. Oh, and I don't know if I mentioned, but this is the Orchid Blush Sun Patient. Man, these are so pretty and did so well. Again, that's only 2 plants in there. Let's see what else is back here. I did throw in some more of the Angelonia. Doesn't seem to love it as much in there. And then because I was looking for some height, I got a Rudbeckia and some Salvia. So kind of a mishmash. Oh, there's also a random smaller Celosia in there. But the plan is to put bulbs in here. So everything will be pulled, bulbs will be planted, and then we'll see if I kill them again or not. But that again will probably happen later October, which honestly isn't too far away now. Moving along then to the other dahlia, which this was supposed to be Penhill watermelon and definitely is not Penhill watermelon. But thank you to the people that responded in one of the videos when I asked if anyone knew what this was. I think I figured it out, or at least what I'm telling myself it is. So first off, it's definitely a decorative dahlia. It's a smaller stature, both in the size of the plant and the size of the flower. So one, I knew it wasn't a dinner plate dahlia like the Penhill watermelon is. It's also yellow, so that was another sign that it wasn't the correct plant. And what someone had mentioned in the comments was, I believe the name is Penhill Yellow Queen, something along those lines. And I do love it. Again, I wasn't planning to plant yellow here, but that's how it turned out. And I do think it's really pretty, and I actually like having some variety in the size, but I think that also makes sense in terms of what would be easiest to mix up when they were packing the tuber. Because this tuber for this dahlia and the tuber for this dahlia were in the same package. So each package comes with 2. It was labeled as Penhill watermelon. I think it would make the most sense that you accidentally put in another dahlia that started with the name Penhill. It would just be an easier mistake to make, I feel like. So that's what I'm going with for that one. Moving on to the last bed here, then I have the Celosia. I have the Cupcakes Blush Cosmos. I have the Rose Gomphrena in the corners. And then again, some status. Because these are still so full with the Cosmos and the Celosia, I didn't feel the need to shove as many more plants in there when some of them died. So that is what is in that bed. And then I have the other evergreen over there. Now before I forget, this is just a pot of impatiens. I was lucky enough to take this home from the Wall Horticultural event I went to in July. Nice thing is when you drive to the events and a lot of other people fly, they will give you the extra plants to take home with you. So I did not plant this, it just came like that, and I just decided to pop it here on the table. Now let's talk about what's happening behind the couch. I had dreams of a zinnia and dahlia border and powdery mildew and some sort of fungal issue with the dahlias has destroyed that dream. But it did look good for a little bit, so I got some fun out of it, but I've pulled all of the zinnias. I'm leaving the empty bags for now because I will deal with that when I clean everything up. I haven't completely pulled any of the dahlias, but some of them are not looking great. What does look good though are the Supertunia Vista bubblegum. I have one in each of those containers. They did have budworms, cut them back, refertilized them. I think some might have some budworms again, but they've been doing really well, and I like that added height. Something I was nervous about gardening up here and putting things on the ledge was the wind blowing them over. However, the pots are so heavy, and then adding soil, I haven't had any issues, even when we've had very strong windstorms. So let me come around now closer and show you the dahlia situation. Empty bed on the left was a floret zinnia. The root ball is still in there. Again, I will pull that out later. This right now looks like a really healthy plant. This is a lilac time dahlia. It basically looked like that, and the top was so bad I cut it off, but then there was new healthy looking growth on it, so I'm just letting it do its thing. I don't know if whatever's left in there will flower at all before we get our first frost here, but I'm gonna let it do its thing. And that seems to kind of be happening with the other dahlias as well. So this one is a fairway spur, which looks okay up top, not so great in the middle, and has new growth at the bottom. Again, I think that some sort of fungal issue just based on the leaves and the look of the plant, but I am still getting a flower, so for me that's very hard to remove the whole plant when I have a flower forming. Speaking of that, even though again, based on the leaves, definitely some sort of issue, but look at my autos thrill. This is the dahlia that always does the best for me in terms of producing the most blooms throughout the season. I had 2 last year. I think I had just 1 this year, right? I think I'm 100% getting more and hoping that when I buy them, they are actually the right variety. I love these so much. And again, even though the plant isn't looking great down there, the flowers are still so beautiful. So 100% growing this one and more of them next year. Now I think I need to head to the other side over here in order to look at the other dahlias. Here are the other dahlias. So I think this is another of the fairway spur. There are some flowers forming even though it's crooked, but again, also a lot of new healthy growth. And then this one looks terrible, which I actually might pull relatively soon, is the Thomas A. Edison, which makes me sad because it's one of my favorite ones. Also, when I have plants with this kind of issue, I don't overwinter them. I'm just treating them as annuals because I don't know if like the tuber itself will carry that issue over till next season. Let me know if I should save these, but I pretty much, if there does seem to be a disease issue with a plant, I tend not to overwinter it, but let me know what you think. So that is everything that's left here on my border. All the other empty bags were zinnias. The last section then is this corner. So first, in my largest pot, I have 2 of the Sweet Caroline sweet potato vines in here that I've just taken over. I also have 2 Super Tunia Vista bubblegums, 2 Super Tunia Vista jazzberries, but they are pretty much covered by the sweet potato vines. And then I have my bucket planter, which again I named Nanette, but bucket planter makes more sense, I think. I love this. I love how this turned out. I'm definitely keeping this in this exact same spot every single year until I guess maybe I get tired of it. But behind it is Morning Glory. I do love how the Morning Glory just covers this wall. If I do grow any Morning Glory again, it'll be here. So definitely out front, I'm going to replace that Morning Glory with the Black-Eyed Susan vine. But this I might keep just because it does grow so vigorously out here. So here is what is in the bucket planter. I have Snow White Gomphrena, 1 plant there. All of these only have 1 plant in them. I have the pink Lemonade Super Bells there and there. That one's actually looking really great right now. I have the Gomphrena Carmine growing up there. In the second row, I have the Campfire Marshmallow Bidens on the left. I have 2 of the Super Tunia Vista jazzberries. I will say, actually, I don't know. Either next year I'm not going to do Super Tunias in here, go a little bit less vigorous, or just do them along the bottom and then have plants less trailing or less vigorous in the top 2 rows, but we'll see. And then I also have another one of the Selenia Apricot Begonias. Bottom row then, I have 2 of the Super Tunia Vista Fuchsias, and then the 2 different Sun Patient varieties. So that is the Purple Candy, and that is the Orchid Blush. Can I help you? Okay, we are really close. there's my cat, just now realizing the pigeons are out here. And for one last look, I'm now standing in the middle of my deck, and I will slowly turn around. This is also the deck where more people can see me, because there are trees that block the other buildings from seeing me on the front deck, whereas here, everyone can just wonder why that lady is spinning around her deck. But that is my garden. So this is how my back deck is looking in early September. This is by far the most amount of plants I've ever had back here. I'm completely in love. This is where I start every morning. This is usually where I try to end the days as well, because I have the couch out here, so it's just a little bit more cozy and relaxing. But this is my happy place, and I love it so much. So let me know if you have any questions. I will try to link everything down below, but if there's anything I've missed, let me know, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.